Everyone, welcome back to English class. Dear students, today we are going to continue lesson number 7, the open window from the supplementary reader book. It so happened. Yesterday we have done part 1, in which we have read about Frampton Nuttall, who was suffering from nervous illness, and her sister sent him to countryside for rural retreat with some letters of introduction. And he reached at Mrs. Sapleton's house, where he met a young girl who gave him company and talked freely, and she also told him the tragic story of Mrs. Sapleton. And according to the narrator, means according to the young girl, Mrs. Sapleton's husband and her two brothers went out for the shooting and they had never returned back. So let's talk about part 2. On page number 58, you will get this part. Here are some key points. Mrs. Sapleton comes down at last and inadvertently confirms her niece's story. Frampton tries to acquaint his host with the nature of his ailment. Through the open window, he can see things that worsen his nerves. Okay, so these are the points about which we are going to read in it. So, look at your books and listen carefully. She broke off with a little shudder. It was a relief to Frampton when the aunt bustled into the room with a whirl of apologies for being late in making her appearance. So she broke off with a little shivering. Shudder means shivering, means she came down. Who? Yes, Mrs. Sapleton came down with a little bit of shivering, and it was a relief to Frampton when the aunt bustled to the room with a whirl of apologies for being late. Now, as she entered the room, she was just saying many apologies in quick succession. Means sorry, because she was late and she was very late in making her appearance. So it give a little bit of relief to Frampton when he met to Mrs. Sapleton and when Mrs. Sapleton entered the room. I hope Vera has been amusing you, she said. She has been very interesting, said Frampton. So the name of the girl is Vera. Okay, the name of the niece of Mrs. Sapleton is Vera, and she said, Mrs. Sapleton said that, and like she was hoping that Vera had been amusing him, and yes, Frampton replied, she had been very interesting. Who? Vera was very interesting girl. I hope you don't mind the open window, said Mrs. Sapleton briskly. My husband and brothers will come be home directly from shooting, and they always come in this way. They have been out for snipe in the marshes today, so they will make a fine mess over my poor carpets. So like human folk, isn't it? So now indirectly Mrs. Sapleton was supporting the grief tragic story of Vera. Okay, as Vera has narrated the story, on the same way, Mrs. Sapleton was giving the consent. Okay, and what she was saying, that she was asking actively from Frampton that he didn't mind about the open window, because her husband and brothers would be home directly from the shooting. Okay, and they always entered the home from this area because they had gone for the marshes. Okay, they have gone to shoot out the water bird that lives in marshes, and obviously when they came back, their shoes will be fine. They were having completely mud on their shoes, so they will make a fine mess with the carpets. Okay, so the carpets would get muddy. So like you, menfolk is a collective noun which is used for the group of men. So she is indicating the group of men that they all have the same nature, means they are just they are here to mess the carpets, so they are not allowed to enter from the main gate. She rattled on cheerfully about the shooting and the scarcity of birds and the prospects for duck in the winter. To Frampton, it was all purely horrible. As she was continuing talking, Mrs. Sapleton, and now she was rattled on. Rattled on means she went on cheerfully, very happily. She was talking about the shooting on the birds, okay, and scarcity of birds. No birds or very few birds, acute shortage of birds, as everybody is going for the shooting and they are killing the birds, and obviously the prospects for duck in the winter, means how would be the future of ducks in the winter. So all these were the points of Mrs. Appleton's talking, and to Frampton it was all purely horrible, means completely dangerous, because according to Vera, according to the girl, all have died. He made a desperate but only partially successful effort to turn the talk onto a less ghastly topic. He was conscious that his hostess was giving him only a fragment of her attention, and her eyes were constantly straying past him to the open window and the lawn beyond. It was certainly an unfortunate coincidence that he should have paid his visit on this tragic anniversary. Right. So what happened as the conversation was going on, Mrs. Appleton was just talking about her husband, friends, and birds, etc. So who? Mr. Frampton made a desperate but only partial successful, and he just wanted to turn the topic, and he wanted to talk about some less terrible topic. So he made his efforts, and he was very conscious, and obviously he was very aware that this his hostess, Mrs. Appleton, was giving very little attention towards his talks. Okay, and her eyes was constantly looking out the window, and she was continuously watching there and waiting for her relatives and lawn beyond. It was certainly, and he was thinking that it was an unlikely chance for him that he came to their house on this tragic anniversary, on the day when this all incident happened. He came on that day. It was the unluck, means bad luck for him, as he made his attempt, or he made his entrance on that particular day. So here is the picture which defines that. Here is Mr. Frampton. Sapleton is here. Vera, she has arrived, and they all were talking about things. Now, the doctors agree in ordering me complete rest, an absence of mental excitement, and avoidance of anything in the nature of violent physical exercise, announced Frampton, who labored under the tolerably widespread delusion that total strangers and chance acquaintances are hungry for the least detail of one's ailment and infirmities, their cause and cure. On the matter of diet, they are not so much in agreement, he continued. Okay, so as we have read that Frampton was feeling very conscious, because always also horrible, because they both were talking about the three persons only, but Frampton wanted to change the topic, right? So he made his efforts, and he started talking like about his illness, and he was saying that the doctor suggested him to take complete rest, just avoid mental excitement, right? And there is no need to do any physical exercise, means very violent physical exercise, huge amount of physical exercises. All these could damage his nervous system. So who labored by delusion that total strangers, and obviously he was noticing that total strangers, okay, and chance acquaintances, means by chance they made their friends. Okay, so non-persons and total strangers, but now non-persons are paying little attention towards his cure, towards his illness, and they are less hungry for the least details of one's ailment and infirmities, means complaints of sickness and weakness. They both were not ready to hear Mr. Frampton's illness. Okay, they both, means girl and Mrs. Appleton's, were paying little attention towards his illness and towards his reason for coming there. And on the matter of diet, they are not so much in agreement, he continued. And he was continued in his talk that if we talk doctors advised me to take rest and not to take mental stress, and obviously on the matter of diet they all were not agreed, means just go for the simple one. No, said Mr. Sapleton, in a voice which only replaced yawn at the last moment. Then she suddenly brightened into alert attention, but not to what Frampton was saying. She said only no. Okay, and afterwards it was like she was getting bored and she was feeling sleepy, and suddenly her brightened into alert attention. Suddenly she got up, or she was looking like attentive, and but not to the Frampton saying, means she was not paying attention attention towards the Frampton's words. She was just looking at the windows, and what she said, "Here they are at last," she cried. "Just in time for tea, and don't they look as if they are muddy up to the eyes?" Okay, so what she said, "Here they are at last," means at last her husband and brothers had arrived, and at the time of the tea only, and didn't they look as if they are muddy up to the eyes, means can't you see that they are completely full with mud, they are completely from till the eyes they are filled with the mud. So and you can see the pictures. So as you can see, here is the picture is given. Both are in a very, you can see the expression, she is very happy, she is little bit in shock. Here is Frampton, and he has just moved backward to see, and yes, the three figures and one dog was there. Let's see what happened next. Frampton shivered slightly and turned towards the niece with a look intended to convey sympathetic comprehension. The child was staring out through the open window with a dazed horror in her eyes. In a chill shock of nameless fear, Frampton swung round in his seat and looked in the same direction. So here is the only expressions. Okay, in this para only the expressions has been explained, as we have seen in the picture. Frampton shivered slightly. He was not shivering, he started shivering and turned towards, and he just first of all he watched on he looked at the niece, and he wanted to convey the sympathetic, means pity look, or just way to from Mrs. Sapleton, as according to him, means he was feeling very pity, but the child was also looking out the window, and she was full of surprise, and his face was showing the shocking expression. And in a chill shock of nameless fear, Frampton swung round. As he seen that the child was also filled with shock, he turned, as you can see in the picture, he turned his neck, right? So Frampton swung round in his seat and looked in the same direction, as he noticed first of all that she was very happy. So he looked at her, she was also looking outside, so he also turned his neck and looking outside in the same direction as they both were looking. Okay, so what happened? In the deepening twilight, three figures were walking across the lawn towards the window. They all carried guns under their arms, and one of them was additionally burdened with a quite white coat hung over his shoulder. A tired brown spaniel kept close at their heels. Noiselessly, they neared the house, and then a hoarse young voice chanted out of the dusk, "I say, Bertie, why do you bound?" Right? So, what was the scene there? In the deepening twilight, as it was dark was approaching, night was approaching, three figures were walking across the lawn towards the window. Okay, three figures were coming to the window, and what they are having, they were having guns, right? And obviously one person was having white coat over his shoulder. As with them a spaniel, a dog was there, who was walking towards with their close to their heels, close to their feet, and noiselessly they very silently they were coming, they were approaching the window, and they neared the house. And then a very harsh young voice chanted out, singing the dusk, out of the dusk, means from the darkness, a very horrible voice entered into his ears, and it was singing, "I say, Bertie, why do you bound?" It was the title of the song which he was singing, as it was described by Vera. So as Vera described the scene, like these three persons have gone and they had never come back, and they all died, and they used to, one person used to sing this song, and in the same way Frampton has what just face these all seen live. Okay, he has just face all these conditions live in front of his eyes. So it was very suspense there. So just wait for the next part.